What's up guys, Readiness Rations here with you again, and today we're going to be doing a review of a US brown bag MRE. This is menu number 1, pork with rice and barbecue sauce. In the US meal ready to eat lineup, pork with rice and barbecue sauce was only menu number 1 from 1988 to 1995. So any way you want to cut it, this is basically a 30-year-old ration at this point. This particular example was sent to me by fellow YouTuber and friend, Military Surplus Carbine Collector. I will have his YouTube channel linked down in the description of this video if you want to check that out. Military Surplus Carbine Collector contacted me about this ration, telling me that he purchased it in a case from Sportsman's Warehouse at least 20 years ago at this point, and this ration has been sitting in his truck in Idaho for about the past 20 years, experiencing frigidly cold winters and blistering hot summers. He thought that might be the kind of thing I would want to check out, and he was definitely right about that. I'm very curious to see how well this ration has held up in those adverse conditions. We'll be opening that up today with my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, but before we open this ration up, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like seeing these military ration reviews here on YouTube, especially the older rations like this one, and to subscribe to the channel to catch all of my future videos. Also, let me know down in the comments what ration you would like to see me review next. Even after all that hot and cold, the outside bag is still holding up fairly well. I have seen MREs that have been stored in attics and whatnot, and the bag will kind of start degrading and falling apart over time, but this one still looks really nice. Nothing really smells off in the package. Just has that characteristic MRE bag smell, very plasticky. First thing we have there is the box for the main. Pork with rice and barbecue sauce, and that's a pretty trim ingredients list, if you ask me. Coming in at 8 ounces as usual. Let's see what the pouch is looking like. A little bit wrinkly looking. There's several 4-digit codes on the pack, and they're kind of hard to make out, but it's looking like this one was packaged in 1991, cementing it at more than 30 years old. Next, we have a pack of crackers. Day code on that is the 121st day of 1991. A beverage-based powdered grape. Powder still feels like it's in good shape. A sort of squat 1-ounce pack of grape jelly. MRE spoon. A super dark and very questionable looking Tabasco sauce bottle. It's also very evaporated, less than half full. A cocoa beverage-based powder, type 1 fortified, 4.5 ounces applesauce, and a brown accessory package. Let's see what this contains. Looks like 2 Tootsie Rolls, a wet nap, 6 grams of sugar, a banded pack of toilet paper, pack of iodized salt, a black or dark brown package of Taster's Choice freeze-dried coffee, spearmint chewing gum, a National Brands non-dairy creamer, and a light green pack of MRE matches with red tips. This ration was packed before the days of the flameless ration heater, so we will need to boil this main. So we'll throw this in some water, and I'll get everything else plated up. When taste testing one of these 30-year-old MREs, I always try to play it safe and really analyze what I'm going to consume before doing so to hopefully avoid any ill effects from eating it, such as sickness or death. In this case, we know that the ration was stored in less than ideal conditions, and so I will be taking even stricter precautions to make sure everything is safe to eat. With that said, let's jump into this Taster's Choice freeze-dried coffee. Tear the top on that, and check that out. That stuff still looks perfect. No mold, couldn't be any better really, and I'm very happy about that because these old Taster's Choice coffees are one of the best you'll run across in MREs. So we'll dump that here in our glass, make sure to get all that residual powder, and let's add some hot water to that. Let's give that just a little taste, just straight black. Pretty darn smooth, slightly bitter, slightly acidic, not crazy strong or anything, but a decent cup nonetheless. I do like my coffee sweet, so let's load that up with sugar. And we'll take a look at this National Brands creamer. I don't remember having this one before. That powder is still nice and white, no discoloration going. Go in for a little taste of that to make sure it's all right. Nothing wrong with that at all. So the creamer is going in. That creamer took a moment to dissolve, but it does look like it's finally doing so. Still a few clumps in there. It's a far more pleasurable cup with the sugar and creamer, but that creamer did impart a slight chemical aftertaste. Let's look at this cocoa beverage-based powder type 1. Old rancid cocoa beverage powder is one of the worst things I've ever put in my mouth. This one doesn't smell particularly bad. Let's get a big taste of that. That still tastes pretty darn good to me. Very sweet. I like nothing more than an MRE mocha, so I'm gonna add this cocoa beverage powder straight to my coffee here and top that up with a bit more water. Oh yeah, I'm salivating in anticipation for this one. We've had this particular combo on the channel several times in the past, and it is holding strong as one of my all-time favorites. 30-year-old brown bag mocha, here we go. So sweet and creamy. The coffee is just ever so slightly in the background. This predominantly tastes of hot chocolate. The cocoa beverage base powder in MREs is very similar to just a basic Swiss Miss in flavor. That is warming me to the core. The sugar level is on point, nice and sweet. It does maintain just a little bit of that off chemical flavor, but that's pretty standard of the type. At least there are no signs of it being spoiled or off in any way. One last little sip. That got the ration started right. Let's get this beverage base powder grape mixed up. There's a few clumps in there, but it's still mostly powder. Just smells like artificial grape. Nothing off about that. Those little dark bits are a tad concerning. About 12 ounces as usual. It has a powerful artificial grape aroma, but basically looks as it should. Tear open these crackers. Those were still under a really good vacuum and a little bit broken. Those smell perfect, crumbly and dry. They're not very toasty looking, but they smell great. Let's get a taste to try out the freshness. Wonderfully crisp. They taste toasty, satisfyingly bready, and a little bit salty. All in all, a wonderful MRE cracker, as we've come to expect. Since we've already inspected the crackers, I suppose next we'll do the jelly. Tear that corner off. Grape jelly from 91. On the spoon we go. It's more brown than it is purple, but I expect jelly to discolor over time. It actually smells really nice and sweet. Let's see how it tastes. You know, that is pretty outstanding. It has a depth of flavor that you don't experience with modern grape jelly. It's just a different flavor altogether. It still tastes of grape. It is nice and sweet. The texture's on point. This is not turned to straight liquid. It's still quite gelled. It just has a very pleasant aged aspect to it. Borderline delicacy in my opinion. Let's try it on a cracker. Oh yeah, that is outstanding. Sweet and salty, crunchy, fruity, gelled. It is just a great combination and really stands the test of time in every aspect of the phrase. I can't get enough. I'm seriously going to finish all of this off right now. That is the last of the whole 1 ounce pack of grape jelly down the hatch. After eating all those crackers though, I do need to wash that down with a little bit of grape beverage base powder. Again, that is freaking perfect. By the way, this particular grape beverage powder might be the best one I've ever had in flavor. It doesn't taste harshly artificial. It is very nicely sweetened, and it has a decent balance of tartness to it as well. It does still taste like artificial grape, but it's one of the better iterations of artificial grape that I have experienced. Everything dissolved perfectly, and it's quite refreshing. For food safety reasons, I gave the retort pouch for the main ample time to boil. It is steaming hot. Let's get in there and take a look. Ooh. A little bit messy on the opening there. And we do have a little bit of delamination going on in the pouch, but that's probably going to be from letting it boil so vigorously. Smells like straight barbecue sauce, a little bit vinegary. Let's dump that out. Ooh, thick. Very saucy. Looks almost like it's already been eaten once. Got pretty much everything out of there. The smell's not really off-putting. Let's see what this main is all about. First off, it has like this sort of springy, gelatinous thing going on. I don't really know about that. It appears to be predominantly jiggly barbecue sauce. Now, it's supposed to be barbecued pork and rice, and I do see some rice in the mix here, but it doesn't really contain the amount of rice that I think it would need to in order to be considered like a rice dish. It just has rice as like an additive. The pork is stringy bits of roast. It looks a little bit dry, but there is a fair amount of it in here. As I'm poking around, I'm uncovering a few larger chunks of the pork roast. Definitely a fair amount of protein in this main. And the only real thing that I'm concerned about is the texture of the sauce here, and the fact that the pork does look a little dry as you break apart these larger chunks. But given what kind of condition everything else has been in so far, I have no reason to think that this would not be edible. So let's go in for a spoonful. Make sure I get some of the pork here and a good glob of that barbecue sauce with rice. Not exactly aesthetically pleasing, but let's see how it tastes. That was basically just a mouthful of mush. I had a little hint of clove flavor, so maybe there's some clove in that barbecue sauce. I'm gonna go right in for another bite. Maybe the rice is sort of broken down over time and caused the sauce to be so thick in the way that it is. This does have a little bit of tang in a vinegar sort of way. It is slightly sweet. It's not at all spicy. The sodium level seems adequate. There's a little bit of smokiness going on, probably artificial smoke. Although I suspected the pork may be dry, I'm not really experiencing that while eating it. It is stringy, but there's a lot of it in here, and the addition of the sauce keeps it from being as dry as it would be otherwise. As far as my mouth goes, I am experiencing the slightest amount of numbness, but nothing too alarming. I've definitely had worse in the past. This is actually really pleasurable. I'm enjoying eating this. When you get a nice big chunk of pork, it's not bad at all. Again, it's not pretty, but the flavor's not bad. I think the troops probably enjoyed this one for the most part. At the very least, I would suspect that it was better then than it is now. Try a little bit on a crunchy cracker there. The crunch of the cracker does help you forget the sort of mushiness of the sauce, so that's a pretty good delivery device for the Ration main. That's pretty unbelievable that this was stored in a vehicle for about 20 years and is still this edible. I've always said that storing your rations in a vehicle is one of the best ways to ruin them, but this has proven me wrong in that aspect. It's held up as good as you could ever possibly hope. I'm a little bit concerned with this Tabasco sauce, in the way it looks at least, but I do have to give it a taste nonetheless. It looks like there's a little clog in it towards the top. I'll give that a good shake and right on the spoon to test it out. It's so dark. This might be the darkest Tabasco I've ever encountered. All right, I got just a little bit there to try out. Oh wow, that is concentrated. Very spicy for Tabasco. All that liquid that is evaporated has just left the heat behind. It's very harshly vinegary. It does have that sort of fermented flavor going on. It's a pretty unique experience of eating this aged Tabasco. Nothing else tastes quite like it. Let's try it on the main. Hey, now that mixes very well with the sauce of the main. The heat is a big bonus in my opinion. I do like a spicy barbecue sauce. This is more of a sweet and tangy barbecue sauce. So adding a little additional tang and some much needed heat of this Tabasco really pumps things up. I think having it on the cracker will be the best of all worlds. That's making me very happy. Few things get me more excited than opening a food time capsule as old as I am and being able to consume virtually everything in it and it actually be good. What an experience. Wet packed fruit is particularly heat sensitive, so being in a vehicle may have torched this applesauce, but we won't know unless we check it out. And that is some very dark brown applesauce. Smells okay though. Nothing about that looks unsettling besides being dark brown, but I've had applesauce this brown before. That was perfectly fine. Nothing really to look at in this, just soupy, thin applesauce. Get a scoop of that and give it a taste. Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that one. It tastes a little bit like metal, no doubt from being in that metal retort pouch for so long. There's almost no texture to it. It could basically be a drink should you wish. Pretty sweet. It does have a bit of tang. The more I'm getting into it, the more I'm liking it. That first bite was a little bit troubling, but each subsequent bite is becoming better. It doesn't really taste like alcohol or like vinegar, so I don't think it's encountered any fermentation. It's just a little bit less than fresh, and that's to be expected, given all that it's been through. Not really bad. Just pretty plain, sweet, runny applesauce. Last thing on our tray to test out is one of the 2 included Tootsie Rolls. Those are a ½ ounce each, and they have been melted in the past. Very slick and sort of disformed. Yeah, Tootsie Rolls aren't exactly supposed to look like that. It's no longer a Tootsie Roll, it's more of a Tootsie L. This one side is basically glued to the paper, so I don't think we're getting that off. I'm just gonna go right in the center here and sneak a bite. And that's probably the worst thing in the ration. Sort of fake chocolate, very sweet, but it also has this off-putting chemical flavor that I'm not really a fan of. With that said, this is still completely edible, although not really pleasurable. Well, that was menu number 1 from 1991. Pork with rice and barbecue sauce, stored in a truck for 20 years in Idaho, and still going strong. MREs truly are a marvel of food science, and this ration is a shining example of that. I want to say a big thank you to Military Surplus Carbine Collector for sending me this ration to test out for you guys. To my surprise, it's actually ended up being a really tasty lunch. Don't forget to check his channel out down in the description of this video if you're into military surplus firearms content like me. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up to help it out with the algorithm. That will push Google to show the video to more people. Subscribe to my channel to catch all future military ration review content, both old and new. Let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.